Things lately, I found myself reflecting on something that stayed with me for years. A while ago, a close friend of mine named Tom shared a story that at the time seemed simple things, but has grown into a profound lesson I often return to. Tom runs a company in Oklahoma City, and during one of our conversations, he opened up about an unfortunate incident. See, he had hired someone he trusted, someone he believed in, only to discover that this person had stolen from him. Naturally, I was stunned, and my instinctive response was to ask, "So, things, what are you going to do about it?" When I asked him that question, there was a noticeable pause. It was brief but heavy. Then, in his calm southern drawl, he replied, "Eddie, things, if a snake bites you, are you going to chase it into the woods to get revenge? Or are you going to get the medical attention needed to save yourself?" In that moment, the depth of his words hit me. Things. What he was really asking was, are you going to live in the past, burning energy chasing what hurt you, or are you going to focus on healing, on taking your next best step forward? Things. Tom had already chosen his answer. He had cut ties with the person, yes, but more importantly, he had emotionally moved on. His mind was already directed toward protecting what mattered most, his family, his business, and his peace. And ever since he shared that with me, those words have embedded themselves into my life. They've become a compass whenever adversity strikes, and as we all know, life is never in short supply of challenges. You can try to avoid problems, navigate carefully, things, and stay prepared, but sooner or later something will test you. It's how we step into those moments that shape our growth. I've learned that life constantly pushes us to decide, do we act in a way that supports our growth and happiness, or do we fall into old habits and emotional reactions that only serve our ego? When something goes wrong, it's easy to want revenge or to lash out simply because we're hurt. But that's rarely where progress is found. Those reactions often feel good only for a moment and come with long-term damage. So I've started asking myself, am I about to take a step that lifts me, or am I just chasing snakes into the woods? Most of the time, the people who hurt us didn't mean to. More often than not, the harm they cause comes from incompetence, not cruelty. I believe this deeply. We live in a world full of imperfect people, stumbling through a complex reality, doing the best they can. And yes, sometimes they fail just as we do. Yet it's human nature to assign evil intent to the mistakes of others. We craft villains in our minds because it helps us feel like the victim, which then permits us to be angry, spiteful, or dismissive. But reacting that way rarely brings resolution. That doesn't mean we shouldn't stand up for ourselves. Of course, we should. There are times when self-respect demands that we draw a line. However, the true strength lies in not making it personal. Real wisdom, real emotional maturity is being able to say, this isn't about me. It's about the circumstance, and more importantly, how I choose to respond from here. That choice, that perspective, changes everything. It transforms chaos into clarity. As Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, people do not seem to realize that their opinion of the world is also a confession of their character. What a powerful reminder. The way we interpret the world isn't just a reflection of what's happening. It's a reflection of who we are, and that's why depersonalizing situations is such an incredible superpower. When we stop pointing fingers, stop assuming the worst, and instead pause for just a few seconds to collect ourselves, we unlock clarity. Those 5 seconds of self-awareness can save relationships, reputations, and futures. We don't take that pause, we risk losing control. We risk becoming what hurts us. Like Tom said, you chase that snack and all you're doing is running deeper into danger. You'll say things you regret, damage what you've built, and burn bridges you might one day need. But if you stop, breathe, and remind yourself that you are in control, you change the entire narrative. That's when you stop seeing people or situations as enemies and instead begin seeing them as challenges to manage. So the real question becomes, how will you manage it? What pieces will you move? What actions will you take now that this situation belongs to you? That's what I come back to again and again in my videos and speeches. I don't talk about blaming the world. I talk about looking inward, owning our circumstances. Not because it's easy, but because it's the only path to peace. It's easy to say, this isn't my fault, and point outward. It feels good to blame. It relieves pressure temporarily. But long-term growth only begins when we accept that this is now ours to handle. Even if we didn't cause it, even if we were the victim of someone else's error, we won't find healing or progress until we look at it all and say, it's mine now. Only then do we truly take ownership. Only then can we decide what to do next. The past belongs to the past. Right now, it's just you, the present moment, and what you decide to do with it. And I found that the present moment is always packed with opportunity if you're willing to see it that way. It's not about what you look at, it's about what you see. Are you seeing pain or potential, a setback or a reset? Are you stuck in survival mode or stepping into something greater? These are the questions that shape everything. And that brings me to a story I've shared before, one that illustrates this perfectly. It's about 2 brothers who grew up in the same abusive household under the care of a cruel and alcoholic father. Their childhood was defined by pain. But their adult lives took two very different paths. One brother became just like his father, angry, violent, and destructive. When asked why, he said, "Look at my childhood. Things. How could I be any different?" The other brother became kind, compassionate, and deeply supportive of his own family. When he was asked the same question, he responded, "Look at my childhood. How could I let myself repeat that pain? They came from the same place." But one chased the snake, holding on to bitterness, while the other chose healing, asking things. What can I do now to right this wrong? Of course, this story is a simplification, but it reveals something true. In every hardship, we are given a choice. In every pain, big or small, there's a moment where we get to decide what comes next. Do I continue the cycle, or do I break it? Do I worsen the wound, or do I use it to build something stronger? That moment of choice belongs to all of us. And how we answer determines whether we stay stuck or move forward. And in those hardest moments, when you don't want to be wise or forgiving, when anger feels justified, remember this: the present contains every tool you need to begin again, to grow, to rebuild, to find peace. You just have to slow down. You have to stop casing the snake. And instead, give yourself the grace and space to take one step forward. That one step may feel small, but it holds the power to change everything. Living a meaningful life is about balance. It's having the strength to walk away from what no longer serves you, and the courage to go all in when something truly matters. It's embracing the paradox that nothing matters, and yet everything does. You are on a one-of-a-kind journey, so live boldly, let go of the imaginary rules and limits that hold you back. But at the same time, recognize that each moment, each choice, is a building block, a gift, a part of your legacy. I often reflect on that push and pull between freedom and responsibility. When I need courage, I remind myself that nothing really matters. That there's no pressure, that I can risk, explore, and reach without fear. But when I need discipline, I remind myself that everything matters, that the small decisions add up. That every early morning, every small step, every extra effort is building the life I've imagined, one brush stroke at a time. So for now, I'll leave you with this: the little things do matter, and so do the big things. But when in doubt, look inside, reconnect with your why, and never forget you're not here to chase snakes. You're here to heal, to grow, and to live a life full of purpose and peace. There comes a powerful moment in life when you finally realize just how many limitations are self-imposed. We unknowingly place imaginary borders around ourselves and learn to operate within them, as if they are permanent barriers we can't cross. But the truth is, freedom isn't something external waiting to be discovered. It's something internal waiting to be realized. We're not as stuck as we think we are. Most times we don't need to be saved. We simply need to release ourselves, to open the mental gates we've locked from the inside. When I think about that awareness, the breakthrough that everything we're chasing might already be within us, I'm reminded of a particular feeling. It's one I used to get after the 2K rowing tests back in college. Anyone who's been on a rowing machine knows what I mean. But for those who haven't, imagine pushing your body to the absolute edge in a sprint that lasts 6 to 7 minutes. And when it ends, when you've crossed that invisible line of exhaustion, there's this strange beauty in the aftermath. I remember sitting down in the hallway after, too drained to move, and just feeling grateful for the stillness. So that post-exertion stillness became everything in that moment. The nothingness that usually goes unnoticed in daily life suddenly felt like a gift. As my body calmed, as my heart slowed, and the chaos receded, I was just present, still, and I carry that moment with me because it taught me something simple yet profound. Life will shake us, test us, and break us. But those moments of quiet that follow, they are sacred. They remind us of how sweet calm can be, how necessary silence is after the storm. It's like the fleeting relief after a headache or a migraine fades. You don't realize how precious the absence of pain is until it returns. In those moments, it isn't about what we have or don't have. It's about noticing that we are here, that life surrounds us, that there is breath, and in that breath, a miracle. All the complicated layers we add to existence, our doubts, our worries, our comparisons suddenly fall away, because what really matters becomes so clear: this moment, this life, this chance. Tolstoy once said that the greatest advice he could give to the people of his time was simple: stop a moment, seize your work, look around you. How often we forget that. We chase, we hustle. We worry, but how rarely do we pause to soak in where we are? The air we breathe is proof of victory. We've already won so much just by being here. That perspective brings us back to gratitude. To humility, to appreciation for the very fact that we exist. And in that lightness, that beautiful simplicity, I remind myself of the nothing matters philosophy. Not in a hopeless or nihilistic way, but in a freeing, empowering way. When life starts to feel too heavy, when fear creeps in or hesitation stops me from trying, I'll lean into this mindset. So why get worked up? Why fear failure? Why avoid risk? If nothing truly matters in the grand scheme, then why not go all in? Why not test the limits of what you're capable of? What's the worst that happens? You fall short, you fail and start over, now stronger and wiser. That doesn't sound like a tragedy. That sounds like growth. The upside of risk consistently delivers. It rewards the bold. And when I stop and look around, I see that life has already provided so much. The only real tragedy is in wasting it, wasting the time, the chances, the opportunities. things. How dare we let that slip through our fingers? Of course, I know I have to be careful with the phrase nothing matters because it can be misunderstood. Some might ask, if nothing matters, why should I even care? But that's not the heart of this message. Let's reframe it. It's not that nothing matters, but rather it's that nothing outside the scope of your personal values and worldview matters. That's where the freedom lies. That's how you find peace, not by carrying the weight of the world. Things, but by lightening your own mental load. The real obstacles are not the people, opinions, or situations around us, but how we perceive them. We let these externalities build walls inside our minds. Things, forgetting that we are the architects of those walls. Open the gates, let out what doesn't serve you. Keep in only what uplifts you, what aligns with your truth, your direction, your dreams. Things. That's the path, that's the way forward. This is why I say again and again that we are the authors of our own stories, because we decide what gets the spotlight. Things. We decide what our everything and nothing look like. Each morning we rise, we are presented with a blank page. What are you going to write? That's your creation story. Things. That's your daily opportunity to shape the world behind your eyes. And yes, you have your hand on the dial. You get to tune it however you choose. So look around, soak it all in. Ask yourself, what does freedom feel like? What does it look like in your world? Because you weren't born to be confined, to be afraid, to shrink. You were born to explore, to expand, and to live in pursuit of the limitless. And outside those boundaries of your own heart's desires, nothing else really matters. So why not live like that's true? Why not chase dreams as if they're already within reach? Why not use the little moments in front of you, the choices, the pauses, the risks, to build something bigger than you can currently see? Things. Walk away from what no longer fits. Run toward what calls to you. If it feels right in your soul, don't hesitate. Step in with everything you've got, because when it's all said and done, there is everything to gain and nothing, absolutely nothing to lose. This morning started like many others. I brewed a cup of coffee, placed it on my desk, and opened up my laptop. The screen lit up blank and waiting. Then in the top right corner, a familiar prompt appeared. Check for updates. I got it and clicked ask me again later. Why not now? Things. I didn't really have an answer. Maybe I just didn't feel like dealing with it. It wasn't that I had anything against improvements. I just didn't feel the urgency. It could wait. Now, things, the laptop update isn't important. It's trivial, really. But what does it represent? That matters, because this small moment reflects something much larger, a pattern in how we approach life. So we often postpone progress not because we don't want it, but because it feels inconvenient. We take less because it's easier. We keep ourselves small because it feels safer. Things. We leave our potential on the shelf, convinced it's better left untouched than exposed and vulnerable to the world. But the truth is, things don't break on the shelf because they're never used. Yet a flawless, untouched object has no story, and neither does a life lived only in the comfort zone. You can't live fully and remain flawless at the same time. Things. Living means experiencing wear and tear. It means getting scarred, hurt, and humbled. It means collecting stories through trials, adventures, and change. So that's the real value, being out in the world, imperfect and alive. There's a short parable about two seeds. One of them longs to grow. She wants to feel the warmth of the sun. Things, the sway of the breeze. So she breaks through the ground and stretches toward the sky. Her days aren't always easy, but she lives fully. The other seed, however, is afraid. She worries about the unknown, the heat, the wind, the possibility of harm. So she stays where she is, rooted in fear, safe, yes, but unfulfilled. One day a chicken walks by and eats her. That was the end. That simple tale carries so much truth. It teaches us that at any moment we can evolve, we can rise to the next level, but the refusal to grow carries its own price, a hidden cost. So we think staying still protects us, but stagnation is its own kind of destruction. We are not meant to be kept in pristine condition. We are not collector's items. We are meant to expand. Things, to stretch ourselves beyond the now and to see what the next chapter holds. Sure, upgrading is risky. It invites vulnerability. It demands stepping into the unknown. But that unknown contains everything we could need. I used to be like the seed that stayed buried. I thought, how can I protect what I have? Things. How can I keep from losing it? I feared that leaping would undo all my progress. So I waited for the right moment, the perfect time, a time that deep down I knew would never come. Things, because growth never waits for comfort. It asks that we move before we're ready. It promises transformation in exchange for the courage to take the first step. So I realized that clinging to the status quo wasn't safe. It was limiting. It was rooted in scarcity. Only when I opened my mind to how abundant life truly is did I understand that stepping into my next self would bring everything I needed along the way. And yes, some things fell away. Some people, some patterns, some comfort zones, but they were no longer meant for me. They were once useful, but their purpose had been served. Life required that I move on to greater things. That's just it. Growth is messy. It includes regret. It includes looking back and saying, I could have done better. It includes losing people to make room for those who truly belong. It includes walking the wrong path just to find the right one. Sometimes there's no reward for a long time, no external validation, just effort. But that effort compounds. One day, you look back and realize those small steps changed your life. You realize you became someone you always knew you could be. Even when no one else saw it, you bet on yourself. And that made all the difference. There's this idea that people aren't inherently good or bad. They have both within them and choose day by day who they'll be. It might be oversimplified but there's truth in it. Because in every situation, we can choose to grow or to shrink, to rejoice or to retreat, to build or to break. So what we see in the world is shaped by how we choose to look at it. I'll never forget a lesson I once heard about curtains with tears or holes. The world behind them stays the same. But depending on where you peek through, you'll see something entirely different. That one opening creates a whole new perspective, same world, different experience. And that's how life works. It's all about the frame we choose. Now, I'm a realist. I won't pretend life is always beautiful or easy. It's not. But I do believe that within its chaos lies its meaning. And to find that meaning, we must be willing to walk through some discomfort. We must be willing to leave behind pieces of our old selves, even when it's hard. Because what's waiting on the other side is worth it. So know this, you don't have to keep showing up in the same rooms, having the same conversations, or living the same stories. If you've outgrown that version of life, permit yourself to move on. Let life be your opportunity, not your obligation. It's not meant to be predictable. It's meant to challenge you, surprise you, shape you. Let's agree, starting today, to view life differently. Let's see the obstacles not as signs that something's going wrong, but as proof that we're doing something right. That we're stepping into the unknown and daring to create a new path. Because that's what life is, an ever-changing journey of connection, curiosity, and courage. And if you can shift your mindset to appreciate the discomfort, to lean into the unknown with open arms, then you'll know that you are growing, you're rising. You're evolving into who you were always meant to be. The real danger isn't what happens when we try and fail, it's what we miss out on because we never tried at all. So maybe today really is the perfect day to upgrade, not your software, but your life.